Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. After how much fun I had yesterday with mind-blown Blacephalon in the Ultra League, I had to run it back. So today we're taking a look at new legacy move mind-blown Blacephalon in the Grey League. Now I woke up this morning fully intending on Elite TMing it and trying it myself, only to discover that someone had actually submitted Great League mind-blown Blacephalon footage for me. So these battles are submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Marcy, so many thanks for the battle submissions. If you watched last night's video, you know we're in for some crazy damage. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, we've got a perfect mirror lead, Altaria versus Altaria. This trainer leads Altaria with Shadow Talonflame as the save switch and Blacephalon as the closer. I really hope they never run into Bastiodon, because if they do, Bastiodon is 1v3ing a full sweep and getting the 2 shield flex as well. Opponent lands the Sky Attack. They're going to be no shielding as Sky Attack lands as well. This will come down to Charge Attack priority. I was not expecting a 0-14-9 Altaria to win Charge Attack priority, but it does, and it wins the lead. In comes Furret, and this could be a problem. Sucker Punches will delete Blacephalon, so in comes Talonflame, but a huge mistake from the opponent. They try to CMP tie, and that gives an entire free Incinerate to the Talonflame. They did go for the Trailblaze, so they just want to try and farm through the Talonflame. Talonflame has the back-to-back charge stacks loaded. Talonflame can now go for a double shield and get a full farm down. Opponent goes for yet another Trailblaze. In the back is Celio, and I think this game is over because Celio is now 5 off the surf, and guess what? Blacephalon time. Blacephalon wins Charge Attack priority. I know Celio's really bulky, but it never stood a chance. Mind blown, takes the one-hit knockout, and that's a good game. That move is just absolutely hilarious. Okay, we move to the next match, Altaria versus Stunfisk. This is the battle of the bulk. Neither Pokemon really able to do any kind of meaningful damage. Typically, Stunfisk will emerge victorious in this matchup. Stunfisk fires off the discharge, and Altaria, these Dragon Breaths look like they're healing the Stunfisk, will look to land some meaningful damage with the Flamethrower. Flamethrower does connect, Stunfisk continues to farm. Stunfisk has overfarmed quite a bit as they go for discharge. 2 more discharges will not knock out, but with the Thunder Shocks, it will get very close. Stunfisk goes for another discharge, another no shield from the Altaria. Altaria does hit the Flamethrower, 1 Dragon Breath and the Flamethrower, but unfortunately this will not set up a farm down for the Altaria. Flamethrower is going to land, getting creative, sending a Talonflame into a Stunfisk and sniping with the Incinerate before they can make a discharge. In comes the Shadow Sableye. Sableye not going to risk the CMP tie, instead just going to go for standard good timing. Sableye's Foul Play does get the shield. Talonflame going to farm up to the back-to-back charge attacks. The Talonflame Sableye CMP tie is IV dependent. It does favor the Talonflame. Opponent does not go for it, and Talonflame will get to force both shields or just knock out the Sableye. Sableye puts up the shield. Sableye did not want that Incinerate to land, throwing 1 Shadow Claw and the move. Foul Play will take the KO. Blacephalon is about to get absolutely deleted by these Shadow Claws. Sableye makes the last second charge attack. Blacephalon has energy, already has the Mind Blown loaded. In the back is Corviknight, and Corviknight just top lefts. They knew they were getting immediately one-shot by Mind Blown, so they immediately concede the match. We move to game number 3, Altaria into Shadow Quagsire. Very good to see this on the lead, but when the opponent safe switches Fearow, this is where things get a little bit tricky. Because Fearow, unfortunately, is just very neutrally strong into this entire team, but you have to be very careful at not giving a shield advantage to the Quagsire, or Quagsire will absolutely sweep. Fearow is going to play the zeros, and Fearow's going to get the Altaria very low. A 1 Incinerate head start on Talonflame could be pretty nice here, and that's exactly what Marcy's going to go for. Talonflame now gets the head start. Back in comes the Quagsire. Quagsire, even just these mud shots are adding up quite a bit. Quagsire not throwing on 7 there. I'm a little bit surprised. Instead, they're just going to look to overfarm quite significantly. Quagsire now going to go for the Aqua Tail. Is Shadow on Shadow. Even an Aqua Tail would very cleanly take the knockout. Shield comes up from Talonflame. Going to under tap here just to guarantee that it can force the final shield. But this is going to be a very tricky game for the Blacephalon, but Altaria hangs on. Altaria gets the Sky Attack. Opponent does not react in time, and the Quagsire is now very low. This looks like it could be 1 Incinerate range for Blacephalon. In comes Blacephalon. You really have to hope this Incinerate will knock out. It is resisted damage. The Aqua Tail is shielded. It does knock out. In the back is Alolan Ninetales. Oh, man. People know. They know Blacephalon is one-shotting things, and they're just top-lefting before the Mind Blows can land. Yeah, that's a fitting name. This trainer's name is Flamethrower, and that's an amazing lead. Altaria into Gastrodon. But a Regidrago safe switch is going to be a massive, massive problem. and that's because, so far, the opponent has 2 resistances to fire. Where are Talonflame and Blacephalon supposed to go against a Gastrodon plus Regidrago team? Sky Attack does get shielded, and Altaria getting outpaced in this matchup is just so bad, because you don't really have an ability to farm down the Regidrago with anything other than the Altaria, so it forces the Altaria to burn the shield. However, suddenly Gastrodon is looking like it can reverse sweep this entire team, so this is going to be really tough. Sky Attack is no shielded in the back. They have Clefable. Altaria banks energy, pivots into the Talonflame, and Talonflame will be answered with the Gastrodon. Gastrodon, unfortunately, will be able to outpace here and make the Water Pulse before the second Fly. Fly is going to be shielded up, and that's perfect charge attack timing from the opponent. Is there ever any hope they're on Earth Power? No, they're on the correct moveset of Water Pulse, and this is going to be really, really difficult. In comes Altaria, making it to the Sky Attack, but Sky Attack does not one-shot Gastrodon. Gastrodon hangs on. Back in comes Clefable, answered with the Blacephalon. Can Blacephalon even survive here? Moonblast might pick up the one-hit KO. It's a Meteor Mash. Oh my goodness, the damage! Blacephalon barely clinging to life as it makes the Mind Blown and takes the KO. Back in comes the Gastrodon, but I think the damage is done. I think Altaria is just too low. Altaria has to hope that it can survive the Body Slam. Body Slam knocks Altaria out of the sky. Oh man, such a promising lead, but the Regidrago forcing shield advantage was just too much for this team to handle. We move to the next match. Altaria into Gastrodon, the exact same lead as last game. Opponent safe switches not into a Regidrago, but into an Ember Charizard. This is a significantly better spot to be in than the previous game. Because Charizard, it's Air Cutter. It's actually a non-Shadow Charizard at that, so Air Cutter is really not going to do any damage to the Altaria. Altaria's Sky Attack is shielded up by this Charizard. Charizard continues to farm, and these Air Cutters just are really not moving the needle in a meaningful way. Still no boost for the opponent. If they got a boost, maybe they could do something, but that is a devastating catch and sneak as Talonflame gets an entire free Incinerate. Talonflame looking for a farm down, can't quite get it. Charizard makes the Air Cutter. Air Cutter is survivable, but it would potentially put it into farm down range for the Gastrodon, so I do like the decision to put up the shield. Opponent sends back in the Gastrodon, and this is perfect. Fly is going to land. Talonflame now going for the Flame Charge, buffing up its attack. Flame Charge means these Incinerates, even though they are resisted, will start to do even more damage. Opponent throws one in the move, so the Incinerate does not register, and Gastrodon will take the KO. But Altaria is still outside of Body Slam range. Opponent not switching out, so Altaria may as well just look to go for the KO. Sky Attack takes the knockout, down goes Gastro, in the back is Gourgeist, in comes Blacephalon. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. My goodness, people are just top-lefting like crazy so far in these sets. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match, Altaria into Annihilape. Opponent safe switches into Stunfisk, and this is honestly the best case scenario, because Annihilape doesn't really have anywhere it can go in the back, and Stunfisk would absolutely destroy the back. So this is kind of the best case scenario for Marcy. Marcy can just stay in here, try and get the Stunfisk low, and if they ever put themselves in a spot where they're in one Incinerate range and they're not within one of a discharge, then Marcy can go for the play that they went for earlier, which is trying to snipe down with the Incinerate. Stunfisk discharge is going to be getting Altaria low, and this position looks very, very familiar. One Dragon Breath, a Flamethrower, and then it's time for Talonflame to go for the snipe. Flamethrower is going to land. There's the snipe with the Talonflame, getting the Incinerate farm down. And the opponent sends out, thankfully not a Licky Licky, but a Furret. Furret able to throw on very good timing here. The shield comes up from the Talonflame. Furret going to go for the Swift, looking for damage rather than fishing for a boost. Talonflame now has the back-to-back charge stacks. Does Talonflame decide to try and throw on alignment here? Flame Charge boosts up. Yes! Talonflame really looking to try and ramp up the pressure and pressure the final shield away from the opponent. Furret does end up throwing on good timing, and that means the Incinerate lands. That's very, very helpful. Swift will take the KO. Blacephalon is about to get deleted. No! Opponent switches out of Furret into Annihilape, and they are just top-lefting so fast. Oh my goodness. The Mind Blowns, we've seen a few land, but people are just top-lefted. They want absolutely nothing to do with the clown. We've got a battle of dragons in the next match. Altaria versus Goodra. Goodra farms up to a potential Draco Meteor. Do they actually have it? Oh my goodness, they do! What a big shield. In comes Blastoise, and this is really, really bad. The opponent is ABA strong into fire. Where are fire types supposed to go against this team? Sky Attack does land out of the Blastoise. Sky Attack number 2, gonna be shielded up. Blastoise continues to farm. In comes Blacephalon trying to catch the Skull Bash. Is this a double resisted Skull Bash catch? Yes, it is, but it still does half. Oh my goodness. Poor Blacephalon. got absolutely shredded. That is the fakest double resist I have seen in my entire life. Oh my goodness. Why did that do half of Blacephalon's HP? Mind Blown takes the knockout. Goodra gets the farm down, but Goodra with the shield is just going to be way too much for this team to deal with. Sky Attack reached by the Altaria. Altaria has to hope that they no-shield, that it's like a fortress in the back. They do no-shield. They get farmed down. Are they weak to fire? No, it's Gastrodon. And unfortunately, this game is over. The Body Slam catch attempt fails. In comes the Talonflame just to get shredded by the Water Pulse. Water Pulse lands. Talonflame, unfortunately, does get knocked out. And yeah, that game was just impossible. They had Dragon Double Water against Double Fire, and there was just nowhere for the fire types to go, even with that insane Skull Bash catch, which, how did that do half? Blacephalon's bulk is just non-existent. Unfortunately, still not enough to get a win. Very scary lead in the next match. Altaria into Primeape. Primeape is able to hit for massive damage with Ice Punch. Ice Punch won't one-shot, but my goodness, it'll hurt. The no-shield calling the Rage Fist. That is a very big call. The opponent, I guess they don't have Ice Punch, and if they don't, then this matchup is great. Opponent no shields, they get KO'd. In comes Clefable, immediate pivot into the Talonflame, and that's going to be answered with Umbreon. Umbreon going to be firing off foul plays, but Talonflame very comfortably survives one and can farm up to 100 energy. Talonflame not opting to go for the flame charge, instead opting to go for the fly. Fly will hit harder. Fly lands onto the Umbreon. There's an immediate undertap to pressure the shield from the opponent. Fly is going to be shielded. Umbreon throws one in the move, which means Incinerate will not register. Talonflame just going to let itself get KO'd because Blacephalon should be able to close out this game. In comes Clefable. There is Blacephalon, and those Fairy Winds do so much damage. Oh my goodness. Blacephalon puts up the shield. We've seen Meteor Mash is almost a full one-shot, and now it's Mind Blown time. Mind Blown into Clefable, gets the shield. Unfortunately, these Fairy Winds are now even more threatening. The shield comes up from Blacephalon as Meteor Mash now would absolutely take the KO. Blacephalon going for the Mind Blown. Mind Blown is going to be taking the knockout. Let's see these snarls. Oh my goodness, one snarl. That damage is just absurd. Foul play takes the KO. Altaria is going to take the win. Again, this mechanic is just absolutely hilarious. The fact that you can take a Pokemon that has no defense, you put its already low defense to -4, and suddenly moves like Snarl, which have never done any fast move damage in their life, are suddenly out here looking like Sucker Punch. Great lead in the next match. Altaria into Skeledirge, and the opponent is so core broken. They safe switch into Furret, but Furret has a very poor matchup into Altaria. Altaria is just able to absorb Swift after Swift, no problem. And Sky Attack is very, very threatening to Furret. Sky Attack is going to be no-shielded. Furret now very low. Oh, a beautiful catch and sneak onto the Talonflame. Talonflame more than happy to take the Swift in exchange for the free Incinerate that lets it farm down before Swift number 3 is reached. Opponent sends out Morpeco. And if Talonflame can survive 5 more Thunder Shocks, this game is over. Let's see. It's going to be very close. Talonflame lives it, and look at the Morpeco. It just got deleted. Morpeco now in the red HP. Those boosted Incinerates are criminal, and in comes Blacephalon. Blacephalon probably going to get baited here with the Psychic Fangs. No, they actually full send the Aura Wheel against the Great League's Glaciest Mon. In comes Skeledirge, and this is the one fast move that Blacephalon can actually tank. Blacephalon farms up to the back-to-back Shadow Balls. I think Blacephalon can tank this Incinerate. It's going to be very close. Opponent, they just let it go. That Shadow Ball probably had enough power to KO 2 Skeledirges, and that's a good game. Hopping into the final match, and what an amazing lead, Altaria into Chesnaught. Chesnaught is triple countered by this team. It has nowhere it can go. Bonus safe switches into a Drapion. Not only am I surprised to see a Drapion, but I'm surprised to see that it's non-shadow as well. But there's a worry. Even despite this amazing lead, I've seen teams structured like this before. If there's a Bastiodon or a Carmink in the back, then it's not going to matter that the Chesnaught has nowhere to go because the Rock type will be able to sweep. So we really have to hope that it's not going to be a Rock in the back. Crunch is going to land. Altaria banking a ton of energy and getting a catch and sneak onto the Talonflame. Talonflame gets absolutely crushed by an Aqua Tail in the back. Thank goodness that is not a Carbink or a Bastiodon. It is Typhlosion. Typhlosion able to force the CMP tie over the Talonflame. Talonflame did not go for the Flame Charge, not looking to boost up and try and win off fast moves. Instead, just going to go for the Fly. This will set up a very unfortunate farm down for Typhlosion. Typhlosion exits with the Thunder Punch loaded and will win Charge Tech priority over the Altaria, but they don't throw it. Instead, they're just going for the one shield farm down. And now they have 3 Incinerates worth of energy, but importantly, they don't have a shield. They're at back-to-back Thunder Punches, but Blacephalon's going to be winning Charge Attack priority by a mile over Typhlosion. Typhlosion doesn't even try for the Charge Attack priority tie. Mind blown, we already know that's KOing. In comes Chesnaught. Look at the Vine Whips. Vine Whip absolutely shredding. They CMP tie superpower to the Mind Blown, but it's too late. Mind Blown KOs Chesnaught, and that's a good game. I find myself very rarely featuring the same Pokemon on back-to-back days, but I was just so pleasantly surprised by how fun Mind Blown Blacephalon is. I felt like we had to run it back in a different league. This is still, as I mentioned at the start, in any of the leagues, it's not a meta-relevant Pokemon, but it's one of the most fun Pokemon that I've ever used. I think it's pretty skill intensive just purely off the fact that you sometimes have to be very careful about letting damage register before you throw the Mind Blown. Like there was a battle in yesterday's video where I ended up waiting 2 turns when I had 100 energy to let a Snarl register before I debuffed my defense to -4 to ensure that I wouldn't get farmed down. So I do think that even though it's kind of just a spam machine and it can fire off these Mind Blowns incredibly quickly, it has 2-2-2-1 pacing, although it's glassy enough that you're realistically never going to end up throwing 4 Mind Blowns in a game, because even if they have like quick attack or something like that, once their defense is -4, it's still going to add up. We saw how much damage the Vine Whips did when I was at -4 defense. Those Vine Whips were absolutely shredding. So while it's not a meta-relevant Pokemon, I think it's a really good example of really quality game design. Taking a Pokemon that, just based off its stats, it's never really going to see any kind of competitive play, but you can give flawed Pokemon like that incredibly cool moves. It's for the same reason that they ended up giving Water Shuriken to Greninja, because with Greninja stats, normally Greninja would not be able to compete in a meaningful way. And so you can give a fast move that's completely busted to Greninja, and suddenly Greninja actually has anti-meta play. Now Blacephalon, I don't think it's ever going to reach the heights of Greninja, whereas Greninja is a pretty playable mon across the board. But if you're just looking to have some fun, blow off some steam, no pun intended, and I think you're going to struggle to find a mon that's more fun to use than Blacephalon. Blacephalon, it's the ultimate high-risk, high-reward. If you're able to get a shield advantage or an energy lead, this thing can absolutely delete Pokemon. We saw how many trainers just insta-top lefted because they knew that Mind Blown was just a delete button. However, sometimes you run into teams like the Dragon Double Water where Blacephalon just has nowhere to go, and unfortunately, it's just complete dead weight. And that inconsistency is part of why it's not considered meta or even anti-meta. But man, a fun way to end out the year. Thank you so much for watching. And I say this not just for this video, but if you watched any other videos throughout the year, the support that this community provides is absolutely unreal. And I have an absolute blast getting to put together videos, put together teams, and the fact that people enjoy the content that I make is probably the coolest thing that I could ever ask for. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. 2025 was a pretty incredible year on the channel, and I owe all of that to you guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to do my best to make 2026 an even better year. Well, that's about it from me. Hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic New Year's Eve and a wonderful start to 2026. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.